What is a mouth? What is it used for? Why do people make such terrifying and blood-curdling noises when they find out I don't have one? These questions and many more on the first episode of E.A.R. I am your host, Mr. Dagon. Let us get started. Now, if you couldn't tell by my opening, my name, possibly a couple other things on my profile, I am a sort of fan of Lovecraft. If you don't know, H.P. Lovecraft was a writer in during the Depression. He never got the recognition I felt that many people feel he deserved while he was alive, but he has influenced a lot of stuff since then. He wrote short stories and poems and the occasional novel. Most of his stories were published in magazines and such. He never made enough money that he was able to support himself on it. Then again, being during the Depression, I don't think many writers actually did. Now, H.P. Lovecraft wrote a very specific style. Most of his stories fall under Cthulhu mythos. Cthulhu's more famous than him. But again, might be the first time you've heard of it. Cthulhu is a large alien monster described as being half dragon, half human, and half octopus. And the name, I am technically pronouncing it incorrect. And so are you. There is no one who has pronounced Cthulhu's name correct. Because according to Lovecraft, it is impossible to correctly pronounce his name. See, one of the big things of mythos, of Lovecraft's work, was the horror of our insignificance. Cthulhu himself would cause people to go insane if they just witnessed him. Just looking at Cthulhu would break your fragile little mind. Because the human brain was not made to cope with what he is, how he moves, just anything about him. According to Lovecraft, just to pronounce his name correctly, you would have to somehow burp, cough, and sneeze at the same time while trying to pronounce it. I don't know about you, but I have yet to meet someone who can pull that off. Now, it's called Cthulhu mythos because he's the most famous, and Lovecraft weaved sort of a shared fictional universe with a lot of his creations, though Cthulhu was not the most prominent. There were many creatures that all did their own thing and for the most part didn't acknowledge our existence. The only exception I can think of would be Dagon, the guy I took my name from, who actually wants to take over the world with racism. Okay, that's not entirely correct. He wants to take over the world with interracial breeding. See, before you go thinking I'm too big of a fan, I love his work, but the man himself was not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Lovecraft was a bit of a racist. Now, you can't really judge him for that because if you remember, during the Depression, everyone was kind of a racist. Hell, even Gandhi has said some pretty nasty things about black people. But again, that doesn't mean that Gandhi or Lovecraft were bad people. That was the norm. It's one of those things you have to remember. Excuse me. If a lie is repeated enough, people will begin to believe it. So, these were both men from a world who everyone said that people of different skin colors were evil, just because they had different skin colors. I would like to believe that if they had been born in modern times, they wouldn't have been racist. However, I can daydream all I want. It's not going to change a thing. However, Lovecraft not being perfect, that doesn't mean we shouldn't be able to enjoy his works. Now that that little minefield has been spectacularly exploded, I'm pretty sure I stepped on every single mine and trap there. Let's go back to the interracial breeding thing. See, in Lovecraft's mythos, there was a little town known as Innsmouth, which showed up in a couple of stories. The main story that it came up in, was about a reporter going to... No, was it a reporter? Sorry, not a reporter. I just went and double-checked my notes. I got it confused with the game where you're a detective or a reporter or something. No, the original story, it's this college student finds this exotic piece of jewelry in a museum, and he learns the source is from a small town called Innsmouth. He goes there to investigate and find out about it because it was strange, unique, and just had a weird calling to him. And there he finds a decrepit little seaside town where everyone has a very particular look. Everybody is kind of hunched over and has a weird look in their eyes, and nobody seems to blink if you pay attention long enough. This is known as the Innsmouth look. Now, spoiler warning, the Innsmouth look is caused by interbreeding with fish people, who are all worshippers of a eldritch god, Dagon. Eldritch being the term for any big horrific monstrosity. Pretty much anything Lovecraft makes falls under that name. And Dagon is giving the small little seaside village great wealth and power in return for letting his people breed with other people. And if you haven't figured it out already, aka Lovecraft believed that interracial marriage was going to destroy the world. Oh, how far we have come. Now that I rambled about a couple of his things, the shortcomings, the very basis of the mythos, one thing I want to make sure that I get across is the overarching themes. Because the inspiration for this is I don't feel that modern adaptations of his work hit those themes. So we're going to have a little thought experiment. I want you to close your eyes and imagine this with me. Imagine tomorrow that on all the news outlets, whatever source of information you get, the grapevine, online, your favorite YouTuber, whatever, it is discovered and spread around that existence is a book. That is it. We are the imagination of some creature we can't even comprehend. Your entire existence is fake. But wait. It gets better. You are not the main character in this book. You are not even an important character. You do not qualify as a background character. Because the main character of this story is going to be... let's go with the farmer from a tribe deep in Brazil. One of those tribes that has no contact with the outside world due to fear that we might accidentally extinguish their species if we did so. That is who the main character is. Your existence is simply part of world building. Your existence is to set the tone of their story. That is all you are. And you know that hopeless feeling, that little twinge? That's pretty much what his stories invoked. Everything that would happen would just go to show how tiny and insignificant mankind is. Well, not is in real life, is as in in the world. See, the idea was, we have done great things. We've gone to other planets, we've built massive cities, and on Earth, it's no contest. We are the dominant species. But what if there was something else out there? Either in the sea where we haven't explored, or out in the stars, where there's some civilization out there that doesn't care about us because there's no reason to care about us. We don't matter to them. What if at the center of the universe there is a sleeping god that created everything, and after he fell asleep, we developed, and when he wakes up, all he's going to see is a couple of cockroaches that start infesting his existence. Not even cockroaches. Something smaller, something dust mites. We wouldn't even be worth the effort it would take to pick us off the planet. He would just wipe the planet out. Because throwing away a bed full of mites and buying a new one would be less effort than cleaning the bed for mites. Really, really depressing, isn't it? Now, in modern day, there's a lot of people who take a crack at his work. And in my opinion, most of them fail. Not because they don't portray his characters correct. That Call of Cthulhu game that I got mixed up with Shadow over Innsmouth was indeed a fun game. Although now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure you are a detective, not a reporter. It doesn't matter. The game itself is fun, but it's very difficult and terrifying until the third level where you get a gun and you're mowing down these creatures like they're nothing. Yeah, they put up a fight, but in the actual stories, even the idea of grabbing a weapon and fighting back was insane. It was ludicrous. There was no fighting back. This would be like a rabbit trying to pick up a stick to fight off a hunter with a gun. The rabbit might annoy the hunter, but in the end, the hunter's gonna win. Now I'm talking realistic, not no fairy tale cartoon. Now this isn't all bad. There are actually some adaptations and inspirations that work. There's actually a horror manga writer all the way in Japan. I'm going to do my best to pronounce it, but keep in mind I am not Japanese and have not studied the language. The writer's name is Junji Ito, and two of his stories that I have read and recommend would be Gyo and Uzumaki. Gyo would be the closest to Shadow over Innsmouth, and without spoiling too much, horrific fish robot hybrids come crawling out of the ocean, and they smell of death. Not dead fish, mind you. Dead people. They come crawling out and start attacking everyone. And as somewhat goofy as that is, it is only 20 chapters. And one of those chapters is just a small collection of stories to reach the 20 chapter mark. So 19 chapters won't take up much time. That's like one issue of manga. And Uzumaki is a small little town that just goes completely crazy because of spirals. For one reason or another, spirals cause all of this madness to happen. Though I warn, his endings are non-existent. Now, this isn't nearly as structured as I was hoping, but I don't want this going on too long, so I'm going to stop here, and maybe there'll be a continuation in the future. Thank you again for sharing 15 minutes with me. This has been Mr. Dagon on the first episode of E.A.R. and Eldritch Abomination Rants, Have a good evening.